Ladies and gentlemen, sinners and saints, gather round for tonight's devilish display of demonic delights. The Paladin Archives presents, direct from the depths of Pentagram City, here for your viewing pleasure. Listening pleasure. The audiophile overlord of hell, master of souls and bearer of chains, the radio demon himself, Alastor. Right here on Monster Menagerie. Welcome to Monster Menagerie.
Sorry. Welcome to Monster Menagerie, brought to you by the Paladin Archives. My name is Mason Kren. Mason's the title, Kren is the name. If you're new here, this is the show where I look at monsters from pop culture and break them down Paladin style. That is, I analyze them. You see, I'm a Mason in the Paladin Order, specifically one that works in the archives here at the Stewardship. My job is fielding incoming calls from Paladins out in the field and identifying and analyzing any threats they may encounter. Perhaps they're dealing with an arboreal kobold, or perhaps a lesser mimic. I take what they observe, identify, analyze, and provide suggestions on how to silence their targets. So, of course, in my spare time, me and some of the other Masons like to turn our analytical eyes to the books, movies, and games we all enjoy. Lately, a lot of the Masons are going gaga over Hazbin Hotel and Hell of a Boss. And why not? The lore is intriguing, the characters, well, certainly crass and vulgar, are surprisingly deep, and the animation is charming in a Yonan Vasquez kind of way. Last year was all about vampires, from Dracula to Count Von Count, and this year we're diving deep into the domain of demons. Wait, did I do that one already? It doesn't matter. The Hell of a Hazbin world certainly gives us plenty of choices when it comes to demons. Blitz, Charlie, Stolas, Angel. But I think there's one demon that's got a grip on the fan base right now. Our own little ace in the hole.
What now?
Alastor. So, let's take a deeper look at the radio demon, break down his backstory, so far as we can understand it, analyze his powers and abilities, and figure out exactly what it would take to bring him down, if it's even possible at all. Oh, and I should think this goes without saying, but spoiler warning. Oh, for those that are new, let me give you a little disclaimer. My job is to analyze threats based on observation. That means I only use the singular source material for my information. When I looked at Dracula, I only looked at the 1931 film with Bela Lugosi, not the original book and not any of the subsequent interpretations. When I did Morbius's movie, I didn't look at the comics. And now, today, when I look at Hazbin Hotel, I'm only looking at the show. No creator interviews, no comics, no tweets about character motivations. If it's not in the show, it's not being considered. I'm sure there will be things Vivzy said in an interview or a companion piece of media that will fill out the gray spots in my analysis, but it's a very slippery slope when I start going past the media as presented. So, just know, that's the general rule around here. Before we get too deep in the proverbial weeds with our analysis, I'd like to remind you that we do these videos once a month, a new demon each time. Last year, we had a roundup of all the vampires we looked at across 2023 and crowned the ultimate vampire, with the help of a few of my amazing friends. This year, we have something special in mind and a few amazing guests to help bring in all our demons in one exciting video to crown the best of the best. You're not going to want to miss it, so make sure you like and subscribe so you catch all the demons this year, plus any surprise videos we might drop from time to time. With that out of the way, let's dive into the soul of the dark baron of broadcast, the radio demon Alastor.
All to understand your twisted little mind.
Alastor is a figure cloaked in mystery and a fine magenta pinstripe suit. His past is never directly expounded upon, but from what we can piece together, he used to be human, apparently during the golden age of radio. How he died is up for debate, but according to one of his contractees, a lovely little flapper demon named Mimsy, when he entered hell, he made quite the splash. Apparently, he was somehow responsible for the deaths of prominent overlords in hell, broadcasting their dying screams over the airwaves. How he managed to overpower prominent, established overlords is unclear, but the show hints that it may have to do with his own chains. You see, Alastor, like many demons, likes to make deals. Within hell, souls are a powerful thing, and by taking another's soul, you grow in power yourself. Despite clearly having chains on more than a few demons, Alastor also apparently has a chain on himself, one that he laments, one that Husk points out, much to the radio demon's violent chagrin. At some point, radio and TV were bound to collide, and Alastor met Vox. The latter offered him a place in their organization, but Alastor apparently finds visual media to be distasteful. It's insinuated the two came to blows, that Alastor lost, and was gone for 7 years. Based on the song and the news ticker that scoots by as Vox sings, we can put together that however their fight went, it was close. Too close for Vox's comfort. Before we go too much further, I think it might be useful to you, especially if you're not familiar with the Hazbin universe, to get a quick primer on demons and their hierarchy within the show. Keep in mind, this is certainly not how the Paladin Order understands hell, but man, it sure is fun. In general, there are two types of demons, Hellborn and Sinners. Hellborn are native creatures of hell that were born there and live out their whole lives. They're free to roam from area to area across the 7 rings of hell, each named for a deadly sin, and each ruled over by a demon of the same name. The other type are Sinners, humans who have died and ended up in hell. In Hazbin Hotel, our story focuses on Pentagram City, or the Pentagram, which is almost entirely populated by sinners. Should a sinner manage to gain significant power, more than their peers, they can rise up to the level of an overlord, just like our Alastor. The general hierarchy within hell goes as follows. At the bottom, hellhounds, such as fan favorite Luna, imps, the backbone of hell and the servant class, succubi, incubi, and the various forms of lesser demons, then the humans turned demons, sinners. This is where Alastor comes in, but he quickly rose up to the next rank, Overlord, demons who have amassed considerable power. The only ones above Alastor and his ilk are the Goetia, like Stolas, the 7 deadly sins I mentioned before, and, of course, Lucifer and his daughter. Back to our story, Hazbin Hotel begins with Alastor investing in little Charlie Morningstar's plan to rehabilitate sinners. You see, within the city of sinners, there is a much-feared day that comes once a year, a purging from heaven itself. As hell swells and overflows with sinners, heaven comes annually to literally murder scores upon scores of human souls. To solve this issue, Lucifer's daughter opens a hotel with the aim of rehabilitating sinners and sending them up to heaven, a mission which Alastor seems strangely interested in assisting with. Without giving too much of the series away, I'll simply say that shenanigans ensue, and it seems like our lovely Alastor might have ulterior motives. With that in mind, let's take a closer look at the abilities of the radio demon. Oh boy, does this demon have some fun toys in his toy box. Sadly, we don't see any overt demonstration of physical skills. He lifts little more than his staff, or even nifty, but does show off some impressive feats with those tentacles of his. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's go down the list. Conjuration, at least of simple objects. In the first episode, he creates a couple of different cameras on request. We know it can't be more than just simple objects because he doesn't just, magic up a whole frickin' hotel for Charlie after it's destroyed in the final episode of Season 1. Fingers crossed for a Season 2. Tied to this, When he made the commercial for Charlie, he did teleport the hotel occupants as well as give them snazzy flapper-era garb. But that seems to be about the extent of his power, at least as much as he's displayed of it. Let's see, he has either a shadow entity within him, or perhaps has control of his own shadow. It's certainly not just any shadows, but at the very least his seems to be subject to his will. He makes deals, which is a typical demon thing. I believe this is probably where he gains a good chunk of his powers, and based on the flow of the story, it seems obvious that his intentions were and might still be to acquire Charlie Morningstar's soul by endearing himself to her. On that note, he himself struck a deal. He's looking for a way out of it, but we don't have any details on who it's with or what it entails. I'm actually tempted to think whatever the deal was, it was responsible for him taking out all the prominent overlords in his rise to power. He may or may not have some form of hypnosis implied during the song between him and Vox, though if he has it, he doesn't seem to use it elsewhere. It looks like he has some form of pyromancy. We can see when Sir Pentious returns a torn piece of Alastor's suit to him that he burns it with a green flame just by holding it. Didn't really see it get much use beyond that, but still it's a good thing to be aware of. He may or may not have the ability to manipulate radio waves themselves. Every time I see him doing so, it was in a radio tower, which I mean, that's the whole purpose of the towers. Might as well keep an eye on this one though. He has a black mist form, a shadow form, if you will. Very convenient for escaping trouble or just appearing unexpectedly to jump scare your friends. Oh, speaking of jump scare, he has a true form, very deer-like. He sprouts antlers, his neck elongates, and he just becomes all sorts of messed up. Along with this, we see in his defense of the hotel in Dad Beat Dad that he can grow to enormous size and literally swallow his foes. We see in the battle against the Exorcist that he can erect a barrier, presumably made of shadows or maybe some kind of demonic force. It seems quite sturdy, but Adam does eventually shatter it. I don't have a good scale for Adam's power, but it does dwarf Alastor's apparently. Now, I saved for last the lovely tentacles Alastor loves to employ, not just because they're creepy and weird, but because they actually allow me to do math. Oh, sweet calculations, I missed you. Now, let's see if we can get a baseline for how strong Alastor's tentacles are. And please note, I said his tentacles, not him. I don't have any data to support him specifically being physically strong. In an early scene where Sir Pentious attacks him, Alastor can be seen lazily fending off his adversary's attacks from his airship. Assuming it's in the neighborhood of modern airships, we can get in the ballpark for how strong Alastor is. First, let's take a good look at that ship. Now, modern airships come in a few different flavors, but the main distinctions are whether the body is rigid, semi-rigid, or non-rigid. Despite the blimp-like shape of Sir Pentious' airship, we can see clearly it's glass with some sort of gears inside. Also, it doesn't squish or deform when grabbed by Alastor, meaning it's likely a rigid airship. The closest analog I can find of modern aircraft is the Aros Corporation's Aros craft, a rigid aircraft currently in development with the US government, which apparently has a carrying capacity of 250 tons. We know from our Ceres Victoria video last year that flat guns, about the size of the one Sir Pentious is using, weigh around 7.5 tons, so that leaves 242.5 tons of upward lift that Alastor is holding in place. For comparison, 242 tons is about 40 elephants. Man, we really like using elephants as a system of weight measurement around here, don't we? Let's change it up. Not elephants. That's 65 hippopotamuses. 100 rhinoceroses. 950 pigs. Oh, for all my Aussie viewers, that's 3,000 kangaroos. 1 million hamsters. I'm sorry, what were we doing? Oh, right. Alastor's tentacles are strong. But are they strong enough to save his life? Let's take a look at how his enemies handle him in-universe. Alastor has four real exhibitions of power in this series. We know that he fought the TV demon, Vox, but we don't get to see how that went down. I mean, I'm assuming it was a physical altercation. I suppose I don't have any actual data to back that up. It could have been a dance-off for all I know. But focusing on the fights we do see, we have Serpentius, who just... it wasn't even a fight.
Thanks for another forgettable experience.
And the Mafia Sharks were only just a bit better. No, we need to go to the end when he steps up to bat against the first man, Adam.
I'm about to end your fucking life.
So far as I understand it, the main weapon of the Exorcists, the group of angels Adam leads, is their angelic weapons. Clearly the swords and spears are angelic, but I think Adam's axe is as well. On top of this, he uses some kind of heavenly light, which he uses to break Alastor's microphone cane. Now, I don't think this specifically renders him powerless. I mean, we see him still use his voice and even turn into shadow with the broken cane. But it does throw him off his game long enough for Adam to strike him directly with the axe, drawing blood. In his song following this, Alastor admits that he was a hair away from death. That means he can be killed, and that holy weapons can do it. Adam was Alastor's first real challenge in the series that we see. And while Adam is powerful, we see both from Carmine's explanation and Alastor's comments that angels kinda suck at fighting. They're a bit like Wolverine. Boom. Just like old times, we got our comic book reference in. If you're not familiar with the X-Men's Canadian butt kicker, Wolverine has a healing factor that basically means nothing can kill him, and he apparently fights like it. He doesn't protect himself, leaves himself open, because why would it matter? Likewise, Carmine explains that angels operate under the assumption that they can't die, so they don't fight defensively. And despite all that raw power, Adam goes down to being stabbed by Nifty. What I'm getting at is this. Initially, I assumed Alastor would be incredibly powerful, something beyond the Paladin's ability to contend with. But as I study him, I think he might actually be on the manageable end of the spectrum. Definitely below Ceres Victoria. Maybe around Marceline the Vampire Queen? Point is, for all his power, Alastor doesn't fight trained, prepared foes. The angels are overly confident. Adam is a self-absorbed a-hole that doesn't think he can get hurt, much less die. I think paladins, specifically trained and armed for this kind of work, might actually have a chance. So, like Adam does, let's work with blessed weaponry. I have no idea how exorcism would work on Alastor, especially since he apparently can't leave the Ring of Pride in Hell. But if somehow he was permitted to walk on Earth, I'm thinking we treat him more like a freak than a demon. Focus on relics and weaponry overlaying on hands. Tactile exorcism requires far too much contact to be effective against Alastor. Even if it starts to work, he'd just turn to smoke and disappear. Although, I do know one paladin that actually might have a puncher's chance. No, seriously, if I remember right, St. Michael's has a demon slayer that imparts spiritual energy into her targets via punching. She literally exorcises them by punching them. I think. I have no idea if it works. I can't imagine it's terribly efficient, but still, it might not be the dumbest idea in this kind of a fight. The Mafia hit style would probably be more efficient, though. Toss stabbing him with a holy blade in, just to be safe. So, as a Mason who analyzes threats, part of my job is relaying that information back to the paladins in the field in a clear, concise manner. To that effect, we have a system we call a threat level. This is shorthand that allows me to convey how dangerous a target is at a glance. Also, for demons specifically, we tack on a class number, something to let the paladins know what kind of demon they're dealing with. so they know what's going to be effective. Threat levels go on a scale from 1 to 10. Let me be clear, the scale is heavily weighted toward the bottom. I've never heard of anything ever going past a threat level 6. That's really bad, guys. I'm talking natural disaster levels of destruction. Anything beyond that is really just hypothetical. The way I had it explained to me is this. We don't worry about threat level 10s, because there would literally be nothing we could do about it. For a threat level 1, think a dark shop owner accidentally let out a squonk and now it's stuck in your walls and won't stop crying. One paladin, one afternoon, boom, we're done. A 10? Well, it might be something like unwitting tourists stumbling into the tomb of the unspoken one and somehow managing to find the infinite combination, the chance against all chance, that unlocks the book of all that lies beyond, opening the world to begin the passing, the great death of all that stands in the way of this world being merged, no, not merged, digested into the one beyond, seeing our skies melt, our very thoughts take flight and burn in front of our eyes, and being forced to watch all around us drown in the tears of our gods as all comes to one. That would be a 10. Let's not mention that again, shall we? I need to stop reading the forbidden books. My initial thoughts on Alastor, my first pass, if you will, was that he was clearly a threat level 6. I mean, look at him. He's terrifying. How can you possibly stand against that? But the more I watched, the more I realized he's not a fighter. He's a demon. Immense power, yes, but not unfathomable, not untouchable. He bleeds, and well...
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
The angels are bad fighters. Adam is sloppy, and Alastor is defeated by them. He can end most people by spearing them with his tendrils, or even just swallowing them. But with even a modicum of training and the proper tools, I think there's a reasonable chance of silencing Alastor. Threat level 5. He's intimidating, powerful, but it doesn't seem like he's invincible. Definitely up there with the likes of Marceline the Vampire Queen, which makes sense seeing as how she's half demon herself, and a princess of their underworld? Before I get distracted with cross-property thoughts, let's figure out his class. We figure that out based mostly on a few specific characteristics. Are they sentient? Do they need a host to maintain their presence on Earth? Are they intelligent and self-sufficient? Alastor's a former human, so clearly sentient, and he's definitely intelligent and self-sufficient, which pushes him up to class 2, but I don't actually know if he can be on Earth at all. As far as I understand it, he's stuck in the Ring of Pride forever. So, I guess technically 2, but for the scenario of him being on Earth, it doesn't look like he possesses anyone. Class 3. Paperwork time. Recommend stewardship level paladins or higher. Arm with white vestments, holy water, and holy relics. Blessed blades recommended. Lure the target to a secluded area. Engage with overwhelming force. Use of firearms heavily recommended. Anti-freak engagement suggested. Resort to anti-demon tactics only if convenient. Holy crap, what a demon, and what a show. I've been waiting patiently for Hazbin to debut. Hell of a Boss did well in tiding me over, but getting even more story from that universe? Beautiful. And Alastor? Well, I mean, he shares a name with an important character in our book, so I have a soft spot for him. What's that? You didn't know we had a book? Oh, well...
Ladies and gentlemen, sinners and saints, please direct your attention to center stage where I give you the Paladin. Yes, if you've loved Monster Menagerie, the Paladin Archives on Twitch, and you want to experience more about this world of the Paladin Order, you are in luck.
The Paladin, the debut novel in the Paladin Archive series, is nearing release, and you can read sample chapters from it right now. Follow the story of seminarian Jonathan Sutter as he enters the world of the unknown after an exorcism gone wrong. Thrust into the hidden world, Jonathan is brought into the Paladin Order in a desperate attempt to save his mentor. But why is the Order so interested in little old Jonathan? And how does Regan keep getting away with being just the worst kind of person? We have a link down in the comments section to our official website where you can read sample chapters, short stories, and see some amazing artwork about the characters. Guys, we have a short story about Teddy Roosevelt hunting werewolves. Come on! And if you don't have time for all that annoying reading, well, there should be a card on screen right now that leads to yours truly, Mason Kren, doing a reading of a sample chapter from Book 2 that I think most beautifully illustrates the mood and themes of the Paladin. Thank you so much for joining me today as I broke down Alastor. He's quite the demon, isn't he? That voice is just so perfect. I wonder how he's going to stack up against the rest of our lineup this year. Pazuzu, Morrigan, Azrael, and now Hazbin's radio demon Alastor. Who's going to be next? What did you guys think? I almost went with Stolas the Goetia, so let me know if I made a mistake there, okay? And while you're at it, leave a comment down below letting me know who you want next. If you liked what you saw today, please leave a like and subscribe. It means so much more than you know. We have so much planned for this year, and you don't want to miss it. While you're at it, don't forget to check us out over on Twitter and, of course, Twitch. We play games there and even talk about Paladin lore and even just writing on occasion. Oh, and hey, don't forget, if you need music for your next project, give my demonic friend Small Quinn a listen. Her music is enchanting and magical, and it won't even cost you your soul. She produced the music you're listening to right now, The Mason's Curiosity. You can find a link to her Ko-Fi page in the description down below. Before I go, I just want to make a quick shout out to my community over on Discord. There's a link in the description there if you'd like to join. We have fun there. We talk about games, go over monsters, and of course, share amazing art. Today, I want to show off one commission piece and one fan piece, both about our lovely fan favorite, Mason Crystal. If you don't know about her, you're clearly not watching our streams on Twitch. Here's our lovely piece on Crystal from artist Mimi on Twitter. Amazing work, thank you so much. But even more exciting for me, this piece from artist Hans Hallis, inspired by a recent stream on Twitch. Let's just say there are some weird artifacts in the stewardship. Sometimes they turn you blue, sometimes they make you go blind, and sometimes, just sometimes, they make you a cute strawberry-themed maid. Well, I gotta run though. I had to borrow a Prime account to watch Hazbin, and I didn't realize it was the stewards. I messed up like all of his watch progress and saved shows, so I gotta fix that before he notices. Until next time, keep your eyes peeled. You never know what's out there. What do you think, Maddie? That was good enough for the pilot, right? Did I do good enough? You're gonna keep me around for the main show, right? Welcome to Monster Menagerie, brought to you by the Paladin Archives. My name is Mason Kren. Mason's the title, Kren's the name.